Our story continues shortly after we last left off. The young hero Invincible underwent a grueling gambit by the legendary villain All for One, but managed to overcome the great evil, killing the Demon Lord and saving All Might along with the rest of UA Academy. Shortly after, his long-gone father, Earth's greatest hero Omni-Man, returned to Earth to see his son. We open up on a peaceful day in Tokyo, interrupted by a massive explosion. A villain is tearing through a shopping center, destroying everything in sight, while screaming for a hero strong enough to challenge him. This is Kendo Rappa, one of Overhaul's 8 bullets. As he punches through a wall out into the daylight, he's met by 2 heroes floating there, waiting to face him. Omni-Man and Invincible. Omni-Man asks if he wants to handle this, and Mark says he would love to. Rappa leaps at Mark, but after a few punches, it's clear he's nowhere near strong enough for this fight. Mark smacks him down to the ground outside, where he sees something upsetting. As Rappa destroyed this area earlier, he flipped several cars over, injuring and pinning innocent civilians to the ground. Omni-Man lifts the cars to help them out, and Mark gets angry, asking Rappa if this was all really worth it. The villain says anything is worth getting stronger, and that he relishes in putting his life on the line. Those civilians should too. He takes another swing at Mark. Hearing this, Invincible dodges and punches him several more times until Omni-Man catches his fist. That's enough, Mark. This is a waste of time. There's no need to brutalize him. Mark looks back down at Rappa, who's smiling through broken teeth, and takes a step away so the police can take him. You're right. Sorry, I got carried away. The 2 heroes help with cleanup for a while until another car pulls up, and All Might steps out. Now completely reduced to his skinny form, he greets Mark with a smile and goes to shake Omni-Man's hand, asking how the internship is going. Omni-Man says it's going great and launches into a spiel about how proud he is and how Invincible is taking after his dad. Of course, he was the one who saved the world from All for One, yada yada, etc, etc. This causes Mark to cringe into oblivion. It's been 10 years since he last saw his father, and the 2 are still adjusting to interacting with each other. Plus, parents love to embarrass their kids. Mark flies away to help other people on another block, and the 2 adults take a moment to speak more seriously. All Might asks if there have been any issues with Mark's quirk, since it was taken away and then given back by All for One. Has Mark been acting strange? Omni-Man doesn't think so. His powers are growing normally, and he's acting just fine. He asks All Might if he really has no strength left. All Might confirms. He passed One for All to Mark, and its embers have burned away now. He's retired. Omni-Man says he's really glad to hear that. His old friend doesn't need to be involved in what happens to Earth in the future. Just leave that to him and his family. We cut away to a different scene, somewhere dark and underground. This place is filled with machines, tubes, pumping liquid back and forth, and the flashing lights of monitors illuminating this damp, musty space. Stepping up to a large tank, we see the shining glasses of Dr. Garaki. He managed to escape the raids that followed the defeat of All for One. He opens up a tank, and we see his subject slump out of it, breathing heavy. Tomura Shigaraki. The doctor looks at the chart in his hand, and then back to Shigaraki. You're not ready yet. Quirk copies are inherently unstable, and this one is special. I had to make some changes. We can't have a repeat of last time, you know. Shigaraki finally catches his breath and scratches at his skin in discomfort. If you can make this work, I'll wait as long as it takes. Several days later, in the 1A classroom, Mark is discussing his previous mission with Omni-Man to several friends. Kaminari, Kirishima, Momo, and Mina. He says he can't believe how angry the villain made him. He didn't care about civilians at all. He just wanted to find strong guys to fight, no matter who had to suffer. Momo asks if the anger he felt was like what he experienced earlier in the year, but Mark says no. He wasn't scared at all. This wasn't some sort of bloodlust. It was just like there was a little voice inside telling him how much better the world would be if he just beat this guy into changing his mind. Kirishima says he gets that. Sometimes the only way real men can communicate is with their fists. Mark isn't sure. He says maybe, but either way, he's really happy to have his dad there to help train him. At this point, Todoroki walks into the room, and Kaminari asks him if he plans on taking an internship with his dad, the current #2 hero in Japan, Endeavor. Because Deku doesn't exist in this world, Shoto never opened up to his classmates about his father or any of the Todoroki family troubles. Shoto simply says no, he's not interested in working with his father, and even if he was, he's been gone on a mission for several weeks now. No one knows where he is. This is when Bakugo arrives on the scene and interrupts. He says that Endeavor probably left Japan to get away from the pair of freaks who are flying around every day now, Omni-Man and Invincible. Ever since their fight in the sports festival, Bakugo has concluded that Mark is a genetic anomaly, a monster who shouldn't be considered in the same class as other heroes. Hiroshima tells him to shove off. Omni-Man's the greatest hero ever, and Invincible saved the whole world just a month ago. But Mark tells him it's okay. He gets up from his seat and extends a hand to Bakugo. Mark doesn't want them to have bad blood anymore. He has to train together sometime. Bakugo scoffs at this and leaves class before it even starts, declaring to everyone that they will see. Soon, they'll understand that Mark and his father are nothing more than monsters pretending to be heroes. In his head, Mark hears that little voice again, telling him to put Bakugo in his place here and now. But he ignores it and decides to return to his friends. Later that week, the students of UA with provisional hero licenses are tapped to join on a raid that's going down on a Yakuza hideout, the apparent headquarters of an illegal weapons operation that's been producing bullets that erase quirks. At the center of this operation is a man by the name of Kai Chisaki, also known as Overhaul. Recruited for this mission are Invincible, Creati, Red Riot, Earphone Jack, Lemillion, Sun Eater, and Nejire. Mark is excited to get to know some of the older students, specifically Mirio, who is the original pick to receive One for All. The students are briefed about the dangers of this mission and joined by several pros, Fat Gum and Eraserhead, with several other pros on standby. Shortly after, the raid begins, Mark busting inside the base first. He's tossed back by one of the 8 bullets, Rikia. His energy absorption quirk goes ballistic from that very short encounter, amassing an incredible amount of power from Invincible and swelling him up to a gigantic size. Mark is quick to jump back in, but Momo stops him. This is not a villain anyone should fight with their fists, and if his quirk saps power, fighting Invincible will basically make him unbeatable. Mark agrees to leave this one to Creati and Earphone Jack, while on the periphery, Hiroshima is joining Fat Gum and the Big Three to battle off the rest of Overhaul's men, while several other pro heroes arrive to escort away civilians. Aizawa swings up next to Mark, offering to help him take down Overhaul together. As the teacher and student make their way deeper into the compound, Aizawa asks Mark how things have been going with his father. Mark says it's been fine, but he's really confused by the question. Aizawa, of all people, talking about something unrelated while on a mission? No one is more focused than Eraserhead. What is going on? He says not to worry about it though. Omni-Man was supposed to be here with us today, but when I told him you would be joining us, he said something else came up. It was very odd. Mark has no idea why his dad would choose not to run a hero mission with him, but before he has a chance to reply, the door in front of them bursts open as the ground is deconstructed beneath their feet by the Overhaul quirk. Mark is unaffected, as he was flying at the time, but Aizawa goes tumbling down, directly into the line of fire of a hail of red, quirk-erasing needle bullets. Acting without thinking, Invincible flies down to protect him, and 5 of them strike Mark right in the chest. Yo, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're enjoying the story, and consider joining my channel membership. You'll get to see videos like these earlier than everyone else, plus you get access to my Discord, and some exclusive content I will never publish for the public. You could also do none of those things, but I'll know. I always know. Okay, back to the story. Invincible snatches at the red bullets on his chest, lifting one up to his goggles to see the crushed, bent head of a needle. There was never any chance of these things piercing his skin. Heh, cool. Mark tosses them away and flies directly at Overhaul, who stumbles backwards, grabbing a little girl by the back of the neck and thrusting her forward. This is Eri, the genetic source of the quirk-erasing drug that none of the heroes expected to be here right now. Mark stops in his tracks. Whoa, is that a little kid? Dude, what are you doing? This is my collateral. Overhaul takes a step backwards, holding Eri tight. Move an inch, and I turn her into a block of carbon. Or maybe you prefer a puddle. Unfortunately for Overhaul, this threat falls hollow, as Eraserhead stands up, glaring him down, deactivating his quirk. Understanding the opportunity, Mark flies shoulder first into Overhaul, launching him away while he snatches Eri to safety. She looks up at him terrified, but Mark gives her a big smile. Don't worry, everything's okay. I know that guy's strong, but Just as Mark is about to fly Eri out of there and leave Overhaul to Aizawa, the ceiling bursts open. The gigantic Rikia crashes backwards from a combined burst of energy from Fat Gum and sound from Earphone Jack. On top of Rikia, covered in thick wool padding to avoid his energy absorption, is Momo. She uses her quirk to pump out a massive metal ball and chain, using the confusion to shackle it to his arm. Rikia roars as he's jerked down by the heavy weight and uses his free hand to bat Creati away. Invincible swoops up to catch her, handing off Eri to her and dropping them both at the mouth of the opening. He turns back to see what's going on in the pit. Unfortunately, the crash kicked up a giant dust cloud, and Eraserhead has lost sight of Overhaul. As he leaps up into the air to get a better view, a gigantic arm snatches him from behind and launches him into a wall. Overhaul has absorbed the body of Rikia and knocked out Aizawa in a single swift move. Mark tells Momo to get the little girl to safety and get everyone else far away, and he flies down into the pit to battle this newly transformed Overhaul. As gigantic and powerful as the villain is, it's just not a competition. Invincible completely outclasses Overhaul, launching him up out of the pit with a powerful uppercut. Switching up his strategy, Overhaul decides to chase after Eri again and make an escape. Crashing into the ground, he rampages through police cars and makes a beeline towards Momo and Eri. Mark flies up to catch him, just as Jiro sends another concussive blast of sound at Overhaul. It barely affects him, but it also hits Mark, who screeches in pain and crashes into the ground, clutching his ears as they start to bleed. This is the first time experiencing it, but his finely tuned Viltrumite ears are vulnerable to certain frequencies. Mark is left writhing on the concrete. Seeing his opportunity, Overhaul manages to grab several bodies of his henchmen, absorbing them as well and growing even bigger and stronger. He effortlessly knocks away Fat Gum and Red Riot. Luckily, this is when reinforcements appear. Mirko lands a powerful kick to the face, and Best Genus swings in with his intern Bakugo in tow. Genus ties up Overhaul's giant body with his strands, and Bakugo lands a devastating combination of explosions. And despite all of this punishment from powerful heroes, Overhaul is just too strong for them. He roars and launches them all away, and finally approaches Momo, who tries a last-ditch creation of a cannon, blasting him in the face, but it's just not enough. Mark tries to stand, but his inner ears are still recovering, and he can't find his balance yet. Overhaul turns his hand into an enormous pike and swings it down at Creati, just as the final reinforcement arrives. With a single punch, Omni-Man blasts Overhaul away from the girls and back into the ruins of the Shai Hasaikai hideout. The sound of the tremendous punches thundering upwards, Mark slowly regains his hearing and rushes over to check on Eri. She's safe, and so is Momo. Bakugo tries to say something to him, but Mark just ignores him and flies down to help his dad fight. But what Mark finds is not a fight, or not even the victory he might have been expecting. Omni-Man is standing over a gigantic mass of genetic material, the various absorbed henchmen now ripped off of their boss. And at the center, a hole torn cleanly through his chest, the body of Overhaul. Mark covers his mouth to keep from getting sick. Did his dad just kill this villain? No, that can't be right. Or maybe it was. Invincible had killed All for One himself just a few weeks ago. But that was different, right? The entire world was at stake, his limbs were all broken, and the gap in strength between them was terrifyingly close. But here, now, Overhaul was barely even a blip on Omni-Man's radar. He tries to question his dad, but Omni-Man is strangely calm about it. Sometimes this happens, Mark. It was unavoidable. But this man will never threaten the peace of this planet again. It's a good thing. Hearing this, seeing how calm his father is, Mark thinks that maybe he might be right. The ringing in his ears, his thumping heartbeat, they finally start to settle down, just as Bakugo blasts down to the two of them. Seeing the bloody mess on the floor and covering Omni-Man's hand, he flies off the handle in an instant. You freaks killed him! Tore his heart right out of his chest! This is what a hero does? Kills the guy who's already losing? Who's gonna buy that shit? And this is when the little voice inside Mark's head lights up once more. Who does this brat think he is? Your father's the greatest hero in the world, and your former bully is trying to slander him? Here in front of your friends, in front of police, your teacher, the other pro heroes? Put him in his place, now. Listening to the voice, Mark grabs Bakugo by the collar and slams him into a nearby wall, telling him to shut up and to remember exactly how their last fight went down. But Bakugo welcomes this violence, goading on Mark even further. Go on, hit me. And the voice inside Mark's head agrees. He raises his fist, and Omni-Man grabs it, separating the two. He tells his son to get a grip. This boy is nothing, a threat to nobody. Don't let yourself be bothered by those weaker than you, Mark. Invincible gives a glare to Bakugo, then listens to his father. He flies away from Bakugo, ignoring his voice as he keeps yelling up at him. Only about an hour later, Mark returns to UA. He's tired and irritable and nursing the pain from his ears when he runs into Principal Nezu in the hallway. He's not in the mood to talk, but Nezu just wanted to ask Mark how things are going with his father. He says things are fine and tries to head to the locker room, but Nezu pipes up again. Are you sure your dad hasn't been acting strange? What? No, of course not. Mark brushes him off and goes to take a shower. But before he can even make it down the hall, he runs into All Might, who also wants to talk to him. He heard about what happened today, the fight, Overhaul's death, and Bakugo's freakout. All Might wanted to know if Mark is doing okay after all that. Tired and annoyed, Mark wants nothing more than to snap at All Might, despite how much he's always looked up to him. But the little voice inside tells him to do it anyway. So he does. Mark flips out. You're a teacher now, right? You're not a hero anymore, so why don't you do your new job and get your students under control? That's all you're good for anymore, right? All Might is shocked by this outburst, and Mark is too. He briefly apologizes and then dashes away. All Might watches sadly as he leaves, and then, shaking it off, he enters Nezu's office, where Aizawa is standing alongside Jiro. He places a hand on her shoulder and asks her to share the specifics of what happened earlier that day. What frequency sound waves were you using? About 2 weeks later, the final bell rings and Midnight dismisses Class 1A. She was subbing for Aizawa as he's off on an important mission. As Mark gets up to leave, he's joined by his typical group of friends, Kaminari, Kirishima, Momo, and Mina. As they head back to the dorms, Kaminari pulls up an article on his phone. There have been several reported hero disappearances recently. Hawks, Mirko, and the American hero Captain Celebrity. No one has seen any of them in at least a week. Kirishima mentions that's about as long as Bakugo has been gone. He only showed up once or twice after the Overhaul mission, and he's been skipping class ever since. Mark changes the subject. He doesn't want to talk about Bakugo. Instead, he asks what kind of secret mission do they think the missing heroes are all on together. The friends pitch different ideas and joke around for a while as they're about to step inside the dorms, when the ground shatters apart beneath them. They go tumbling down into a pile of rubble, only barely able to get a hold of themselves when a flying figure smacks into Mark, ripping him up into the sky. Mark screams in pain as his chest begins to burn and looks up to see the wicked, sadistic smile of Tomura Shigaraki. Mark doesn't understand what's happening as Shigaraki punches him in the face, and it hurts. A lot. He manages to land a few punches himself, throwing the villain off of him, and the two separate, both floating there in the sky. Mark asks what the hell is happening. He's only met Shigaraki a few times. He was one of the handful of villains who managed to escape after the defeat of All for One, but his quirk was supposed to be Decay. How is he flying here in front of him right now? Shigaraki cackles and says that he definitely still has the quirk Decay, pointing at Mark's chest. Looking down, his shirt has been burned away and a scalding red handprint is etched into his skin. If Mark wasn't so durable, he'd be a pile of ash right now. As for the flight and the improved strength, All for One was always a mad genius. He loved to make plans and countermeasures. One of the first things he did after stealing Mark's quirk was to create a copy of it. Luckily, the good doctor found a way to implant this copy of Smart Atoms into Shigaraki, along with a few other notable improvements. It hurt like hell, but he's willing to do anything to get the power he needs. Mark asks, what does he need this power for? But Shigaraki catches him off guard with a flurry of powerful punches, sending him crashing back down into the ground. Luckily, Mark is caught by Kirishima, who hardened to take the impact. He asks what can they do to help. Mark explains that Shigaraki has his original powers plus all the strength of Invincible. They should all run and let him handle this, but Kirishima laughs at that. He might not be Omni-Man's son or All Might's pupil, but he's still a UA student, and a real man never backs down from a fight. Besides, how's he ever going to get stronger if he can't fight real villains? Kaminari steps up saying he'll help too, and so does Momo, and Mina already skated away to get a pro hero's help as soon as Shigaraki took Mark up into the sky. Accepting their help, he makes it clear to his friends, keep your distance, whatever you do, don't let him touch you. Kirishima hardens, Kaminari jumps up to a nearby power line, and Momo generates a set of armor for herself. Then, Mark turns to look up at Shigaraki. With skin that pale, you sure you should be out in the sun? Here, let me help. I'll put you in the ground instead. Mark and Shigaraki clash, the force from their punches sending shockwaves through the air. As the two fight, Shigaraki seems far more calm and comfortable, dodging and weaving around Mark's attacks and connecting him with devastating punches and burning slaps that decay his skin bit by bit. Landing a crazy right hook, Shigaraki laughs again. Ha! I've been training. We got plenty of footage of your dear old daddy studying him in his off time when he goes all out. And now, I'm gonna kill you with your father's techniques using your own quirk. Mark shrugs off the punch and maneuvers behind Shigaraki to catch him in a headlock, asking why is he doing all this? All for One is gone, there's no point. Shigaraki elbows Mark to break out of it and explains, he was supposed to become the next Demon Lord after All for One, but then AFO got his eyes on Invincible and everything changed. Mark stole his destiny as the ultimate destroyer, and now he's going to get his revenge. First, he'll destroy Mark, then his friends, then his father, and finally, all of Hero Society. But just as his villain speech reaches a climax, a bolt of lightning blasts Shigaraki out of the sky, and Kaminari tumbles away from the power line out of juice. Shigaraki crashes into the ground, and as he stands up to shake off the attack, Momo unleashes her plan, activating several blinding spotlights she just created aimed directly at his eyes. The blaring light sears into Shigaraki and he clutches at his eyes. He slams his palm into the ground, decaying it apart along with the spotlights. Kirishima manages to snag Momo out of the way, and Mark uses the opportunity to sneak attack the blind Shigaraki, pinning him down and landing a flurry of punches. With every punch, Shigaraki's eyesight starts to return, and he laughs even louder. He manages to grab one of Mark's arms, tightening his grip around it. Mark screams as decay burns his skin, but he's not able to shake Shigaraki off. His grip only gets stronger, and Mark's arm starts to crumble as his muscle begins to get decayed too. He keeps punching Shigaraki with his free hand, but it's not working. He can feel the decay reaching his bone. Mark is able to finally break free after landing a powerful headbutt, and as he stumbles backwards, Kirishima catches him. "Shake it off, Mark. I'll buy you a minute." He tosses Mark away and takes his place, pinning down Shigaraki and hardening to his absolute maximum while he holds his hands down. Mark stumbles over, clutching his injured arm as the pain shoots through his head and his vision starts to blur. He can't focus. He needs a minute to catch his breath, to not pass out. A few seconds pass, and he tries to get to his feet, but he can't find the energy. He looks back up at his enemy. 1 second, he sees Kirishima holding down Shigaraki with a proud smile. His vision blinks out, and the next second, he sees Shigaraki breaking free, knocking away Red Riot, and placing his full hand on his chest. Mark screams, trying to make it in time, but he crashes into Shigaraki too late. Kirishima falls onto his back, the handprint on his chest spreading out across the rest of his body, as Red Riot decays into nothingness. Mark flies into a fury. He grabs Shigaraki's arm and snaps it, then throws him to the ground. The voice inside his head is getting louder now as he keeps fading in and out of consciousness. His vision keeps going blurry as he punches Shigaraki over and over and over again, the voice commanding him to do it. Cut loose. Kill him. Shigaraki deserves it. It's what Kirishima would want him to do. He needs to avenge his friend. He needs to remove this enemy from the world for good. As Mark wails on him, another voice cuts through the one inside his head. Momo. She's telling him to stop, to calm down. Kaminari joins her. Shigaraki is unconscious now. They're done. He can stop. Mark shakes his head and looks down at Shigaraki, unconscious, but still breathing. He looks at Momo. He's left me no choice. I have to. No, you have a choice. We can't get any information out of him if he's dead. You won, Mark. You can stop. But the voice inside pipes up again. He killed your friend. He's a threat. Mark considers this for a moment, then remembers what his father said to him. I won. He's weaker than me, and I don't worry about people weaker than me. Mark slumps backwards off the unconscious villain. Minutes later, Mina returns with several pro heroes, along with the police. Shigaraki is taken into custody and placed in Tartarus. After taking some time to relay what happened, after the shock of the situation wore off, the kids break down together. Their friend is gone. That night, Mark returns home, numb. His mom, Debbie, embraces him at the door. He's covered in bruises and burns, his arm is in a cast, his one eye is black and the other is red and puffy from crying. They barely get to talk when Nolan returns too. His hero costume is torn to shreds and he's covered in bruises and scrapes. Mark is shocked by this, that anyone could hurt his dad this much. Nolan says not to worry. It was a villain, but he took care of it. He just needs to rest now. He heard that Mark also had a long day. They can talk about it together tomorrow. Mark agrees and the three turn in for the night. After about an hour, Mark realizes he can't sleep as he stares up at his ceiling and starts to scroll on his phone. He answers a few texts from Momo and Kaminari, which includes a video. Opening it up, it's a news story from earlier that day. There was a press conference in the United States, and the American hero Star and Stripe was supposed to appear, but she didn't. No one knows why or where she's gone, but the US is officially declaring an emergency about the crisis of missing heroes all over the world. Several weeks pass. The 1A classroom is very dreary. Aizawa is still missing, and so is Bakugo. And of course, Hiroshima is gone as well. Mark overhears Mineta say something to one of the other students about the missing heroes, and looking down at his mostly healed arm, he makes up his mind. After class, he gathers Kaminari, Momo, and Mina together. He's been thinking a lot about the day Shigaraki attacked. When they were fighting, he said something strange. He'd been watching Omni-Man in his off time because that's when he goes all out. What does that mean? He knows his dad does a lot of freelance hero work, but anything that would make him fight seriously, he's sure his dad would tell him about. Kaminari suggests that Mark just ask his dad what he does in his off time, but Mark says he doesn't want to. He was originally going to, but something else is weird. Both Aizawa and Principal Nezu asked Mark if his dad was acting strange. He ignored it at the time, but maybe something is wrong. Like a villain has some sort of mind control over him. He doesn't want to risk seeming suspicious, so instead, he wants to spy on his dad, to trail him to see what he gets up to. Mina is up for it. Kaminari thinks it's a bad idea, and Momo agrees. But when Mark says that he'll go without them if they think it'll be dangerous, they all agree to come and support him. That evening, Mark carries his friends through the air, flying low to the ground as they follow Omni-Man, who soared off after completing a hero mission. He doesn't travel too far, staying in Japan and landing in front of a large building on the Osaka shoreline. It's an unmarked skyscraper, likely some kind of office building. The friends share confused looks, then enter after him. As they head up the stairs, keeping their distance, a loud crash echoes through the whole building. Mark tells his friends to stay back, and he rushes forward, flying up the stairwell to the 5th floor. He silently approaches an open door in the hallway, while he continues to hear muffled sounds of a struggle and some sort of conversation. Peeking his head around the doorway, the last thing he hears is, "Why?" as Omni-Man pulls, tearing the string-like pro-hero edge shot into 2 pieces, killing him. He drops the body and moves to wipe some of the blood off his uniform when Mark steps out from behind the doorway. "Dad? What the hell did you just do?" Omni-Man spins around in a defensive stance, then softens when he sees that it's Mark. He looks at the body, then back at Mark, not sure how to formulate the words. "Is there a villain controlling your mind? Or blackmailing you or something? Dad, this is so messed up. Say something. Omni-Man lets out a breath and finally speaks up. Mark, we need to talk. Stay frosty.